Right. We are live this morning. Going to be doing some forward folds and releasing some tension in the back and the lower back. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So come to your mat, laying down, and whatever is comfortable. If on your back doesn't feel good for your back, then lay down on your side or your stomach or something like that. But you are comfortable lying on your back, come to lying on your back on your mats. Okay. Well, as you're comfortable lying on your back or wherever you're lying, start to notice your breath. Just notice the inhales and the exhales, that movement of your abdomen. Maybe it's more in your belly, maybe it's more in your chest. Just notice lying here where naturally your breath comes most. And then here, just notice where your mind is. Don't try to stop it or change it. Just notice if there's anything nagging on your mind. And see if you can just acknowledge your thoughts and your feelings or your concerns or whatever you're thinking about. Just acknowledge it. And let your mind do what it wants. Think or be still. And start to bring your attention back to your breath. We're going to take a few deep inhales through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. So whenever you're ready, big inhale through the nose, expanding all through the belly and the chest. Filling all the way up, opening the mouth, letting it go. Do that 2 more times. Filling up, open the mouth, let it go. 1 more time. Filling up, expanding, open the mouth. Now, if you can, keep your mouth closed on your inhales and your exhales, but still try to fill up your belly into your chest on your inhales. And then slowly exhale through the nose. Just finding this deep, big breath on the inhale and slow exhale. Breathing like this for a few moments. One more breath. And as you're ready, maybe wiggling the fingers and the toes, maybe rolling through the wrists and the ankles, try to bring some movement into your body. And then start walking your feet towards your hips, bending at the knees. Maybe when you're ready, start to hug those knees into your chest, gently here. Maybe rocking side to side or drawing circles with your knees on the ceiling here, one direction and then the other direction. Whatever is feeling good. And then as you are getting satisfied with that movement, maybe come into stillness for a moment here. Hugging your knees into your chest, trying to reach your tailbone down to the ground, broadening across the chest, keeping your shoulders on the ground, and finding some stillness with your knees into your chest. Big, long belly breath in, and exhale, squeeze the air out with your knees. One more like this. Big belly breath in. Squeeze the air out. And then release the hold of your knees and let the soles of your feet drop down to the ground behind your hips. And start to pick up your right foot. And stack that right ankle over your left knee and thigh, coming into a figure four stretch here. Staying here if this feels good for you, or maybe threading your right hand in between your legs and your left hand around your outer left thigh, interlacing your fingers underneath of the shin on your thigh, and staying here to breathe for a moment. Maybe hugging your left knee into your chest, pressing that right knee away from your face to get a nice outer hip stretch here. Gentle supine half pigeon. Breathing big belly breath in and slow exhales as you squeeze your knees into your chest. And then as you're ready, plant that sole of the left foot back behind your hips. Release the grip you had on your left leg. And then uncross that right ankle to plant the sole of your right foot behind your hips. And we'll go ahead right into the other side. You can windshield wiper your knees if you want here, letting your knees fall towards the left and towards the right without ever letting them touch the ground. Just a gentle side to side resetting for the other side. Go ahead and pick up that left foot and then cross the left ankle over your right knee here, coming into figure four on the other side. Staying here with your right foot on the ground, if that's right for you. Maybe starting to hug that right knee in towards your chest. Maybe interlacing your fingers behind the thigh of the right leg. Keeping straight arms here to start as you press that left knee away from your face. Breathing here, big breath in. And then as you're ready, on your next exhale, if you like to bring that right knee closer into your chest. Breathing here. You can flex through the left foot, trying to engage through the entire left leg, protecting that knee by engaging the muscles of the left leg. And then, as you're ready, go ahead and release that right foot to the ground and release the left foot to the ground. Soles of the feet on the ground behind your hips. If you can go ahead and reach back with your fingertips and see if you can touch the backs of your heels, just to feel where your feet are in relation to your hips. And see if you can line them up and see if that's comfortable. And then start letting your knees sway side to side. You can use your hands as stops on your thighs here to stop your legs from completely falling on the ground and just letting them sway side to side. Windshield wipering with your knees. And then we're going to continue that action. But first, come to stillness. Bring your knees together. Bring your feet together. And go ahead and bring your knees and feet up into a supine tabletop position where your knees are stacked directly over your hips. And then you're engaging through the feet and the shins so that the shins are parallel to the ground, making a 90-degree angle or a box shape with your legs here. Holding here, bringing your arms by your hips, palms face up or down, or out to the side. Whatever you feel most stable with. We'll play around with that a little bit. And take a big breath in here. Engaging through the core as you exhale. Draw that belly button down towards your spine. Bringing the low ribs closer to the hip bones. Engaging through that core here. And go ahead and let your knees start falling over to the right, any amount. And then inhaling back through center. Exhale, let them fall to the left. Inhale through center. Exhale right. Inhale center. Exhale left. Inhale center. Staying with your breath here, speeding up or slowing down, whatever is working for you. And then maybe increasing that range of motion where your knees are able to go over more to one side and the other. Sticking to your breath here. Big belly breaths in as you bring your knees up and exhaling as they fall over to the side. One more each side. And then come back through stillness. Bring your arms out to a T if they weren't there before. You can always cactus the arms, bending at the elbows if you're lacking in space. Totally good and acceptable. Accepting your surroundings and not getting frustrated if you can. Bringing your knees in closer towards your chest. Go ahead and let those upper or the lower legs fall onto the upper legs, letting your calves connect to your thighs if you can. And start hugging those knees into your chest more. And then let those knees fall over to the left, keeping those knees hugging into your chest, using those abdominals to hug those knees into your chest and let the knees fall all the way over. See if you can let your left leg fall to the ground. And then see if you can make sure your right shoulder stays on the ground here. Maybe looking over that right shoulder, looking at the right hand. Easing into this twist here. One more breath. Big belly in. Exhale, release, let it go. And as you're ready, you can use your hands to help, or you can try to inhale your knees up through center using those abdominal muscles. Inhaling back through center and just taking a moment here without your hands, if you can, squeeze those knees into your chest. Get ready for the other side. Inhaling those knees into the chest. And then exhale, start to let those legs fall over to the right. See if you can let your right thigh touch down. Your left leg never needs to meet your right. Making sure your shoulders stay onto the ground, reaching those arms out to the sides, out to a T in line with your shoulders, or cactusing, keeping your gaze at the ceiling or looking over your left shoulder here. Inhaling, seeing if you can expand through your chest. And then exhale, let gravity do the work. 2 more breaths here. Big belly breath in. Slow exhale. And then as you're ready, you can help with your hands or just start to inhale your knees up towards your chest and back through center. Go ahead and grab your knees now, if you didn't already, and hug them into your chest for one last little hug. You can curl yourself into a little ball and bring your head off the ground and start rocking back and forth on your back, up and down your spine, from your neck to your tailbone. And we're going to roll through seated up to a tabletop position. Coming into a tabletop position, here, hands and knees, finding what's comfortable for you. Maybe your wrists are underneath your shoulders, your knees underneath your hips. We're just going to go through a few cat-cow breath positions here. So finding a long spine first, reaching your head away from your tailbone, finding that long spine, and then as you inhale, draw your chest through your arms, maybe look up, draw that tailbone up to the sky, let your belly start to fall and fill as you inhale here. And as you exhale, round your back to the sky, squeeze the air out, drawing your hips towards your shoulders. We'll flow through that 3 more times. Inhaling, chest forward, belly down for cow. Exhaling, rounding your back to the sky, squeezing your hips towards your shoulders. Inhaling for cow, expanding through the front body. Exhaling for cat, rounding your back, expanding through the back body. Last time. Inhaling for cow, expanding through the chest on the inhale. And exhaling, rounding into cat, squeezing out that breath. And then keeping your knees and feet hips width distance, start to sit your hips back towards your heels, keeping your chest elevated here. And just check, see if it's okay with your knees and your ankles. If you keep your knees and your feet hips width distance as we come into child's pose. Start walking your hands forward, reaching those arms forward. If it doesn't feel good to have your knees and feet hips width distance, you can do the classic toes together, but just trying out a different variation. Walking your hands forward, pressing into those hands, letting those elbows stay off the ground, maybe releasing the head to the mat, breathing here. Big, long inhales. Slow exhales. One more breath here. Then look forward at your hands. Start to shift your weight forward into your hands. And you tuck your toes back behind you, engaging through the legs here, pressing into your feet so much that your knees come off the ground, reaching those hips up to the sky, and shifting your weight back, coming into downward facing dog, upside down, V position here. Go ahead and widen your feet, wider than hips width distance here for our first downward facing dog. Wider than hips width distance. Take a look at your hands and make sure that they're shoulders width distance or wider. We'll have a wide stance downward facing dog as we get started. Breathing here, finding some movement if you'd like, shifting the hips side to side or pedaling the feet. And then finding stillness here for a few breaths. Pressing weight through the fingers, letting that press of the hands release the shoulders away from the ears, engaging the abdominals slightly here to bring your hips up even higher, keeping your knees slightly bent here. And then start to bend the knees, but keeping your hips high. Can you release your chest towards the ground any amount, keeping your hands and feet where they are, just bending the knees and letting your chest release down, fall down to the ground. And then as you inhale, press those legs straighter. They never have to be completely straight. Do this a couple times. Exhale, bend the knees, drop the chest. Inhale, straighten and engage through those legs any amount. Exhale, bend the knees, chest down, and inhale through straight. And then start walking your hands back to your feet. Maybe walking your feet, heel toeing them closer together, maybe about hips width distance, or keeping them wider, whatever feels good for your first forward fold here. Letting your head hang heavy and your chest hang heavy here. Go ahead and grab opposite elbows if you'd like for a rag doll. Maybe shifting your weight forward and back and finding the place of balance on your feet. And then start to let your belly touch your thighs as you bend your knees. And then you can inhale towards straighter legs, but they can always have a bend. Switch the cross of your elbows here. Grab so that your other arm is on top. Breathing here. Big belly breath in. Slow exhale. And then release your hands to the ground. We're just going to flow through our half lift and our forward folds. So we're going to inhale your chest forward, fingertips to the shins. Try to bring your chest parallel to the ground. Inhaling here, broadening through the collarbones and letting your chest come through your arms, but keeping a long spine. So not quite cow, but you're starting with that cow shape, broadening through the chest and expanding that chest through the arms, but keeping a long spine, not letting that belly drop. Inhaling here, and then exhale, let your hands come down to the mat, bend your knees, release into your forward fold. We'll flow through that 3 times. Inhaling, fingertips to shins, chest forward. Big belly inhale, and then exhale, release your hands, let your belly come to your thighs for a forward fold. Inhaling, chest forward, fingertips to shins, half lift. Exhale, fold down. Last time. Inhale for half lift, big belly breath in. Exhale, forward fold. Going to roll up the spine, so keeping your chest rounded here. Bend through the knees and start stacking your vertebrae, so coming up with the rounded spine. See if you can stack Your vertebrae one on top of the other, slowly coming up to standing. Your head comes up last. Keeping that bend in your knees. And slowly coming up to standing. Head comes up last. And then shrug your shoulders up to your ears and then roll them back and down. Reaching your arms down to the ground strong. Here, engaging through the legs, pressing your feet into the ground. Start to release some of those butt muscles so that you can engage through the abdomen slightly here. Lower ribs and hip bones reaching towards each other, broadening through the chest, bringing that sternum or the center of your chest up to the sky. Standing strong here in your Tadasana pose. Foundational pose for yoga. Just standing, hanging out. Inhale, maybe sweeping your arms out and up overhead. And then exhale, keeping a long spine here. Bend through your knees, shifting your weight forward. Come back to a forward fold. Inhaling for that half lift, fingertips to shins. And then go ahead and walk your hands out to a downward facing dog. Breathing through your downward facing dog here. Looking forward at your hands, go ahead and slowly walk your feet to meet your hands. See if you can get your heels down before your toes. Bringing your toes in line with your fingers, maybe. Keeping your feet about hip width distance or bringing your toes to touch. Inhaling for that half lift, fingertips to shins. And then exhale, release down into that fold. This time, keeping a long spine, sweeping your arms out to the side, bending through the knees to come all the way up to standing. Arms overhead, finding that Tadasana shape with your body and letting the lift of the hands come from the shoulders. And then exhale, let your hands drop down to the side, back through Tadasana. Inhaling, sweeping the arms out and up overhead. Keeping a long spine, bending your knees to exhale, sweeping the arms out and down. Inhaling for that half lift, fingertips to shins. And then as you exhale, plant your hands and step your feet back to a plank position here. Knees up or down. We're going to shift forward and then come into a push-up position. You can bend your elbows back, tucking them in towards your ribs, or regular push-up. And then bring your belly all the way down to the ground. Walking those fingertips back so they're in line with your nipples here. Rolling those shoulders back and down, bringing those elbows closer together behind your back. Pressing your feet into the ground. Engaging through the abdominals to press your hips into the ground. And then as you inhale, peel the chest off the ground. Maybe look forward, slightly in front of your mat. Inhaling here for our low cobra. Bhujangasana. One more breath here. And then exhale, release your head back down to the ground. You can tuck those toes under, engaging through the legs. We're going to press up and back into downward facing dog through a plank. You can stay on your knees, keeping the knees on the ground, or engaging through the legs, coming up on the toes, inhaling through a plank position, and then exhaling to downward facing dog. Breathing here for a moment. Looking forward in between your hands. You can step, walk, or jump your feet in between your hands. And the exhale, inhaling for that half lift, and exhaling, folding forward. This time on the fold, bring the backs of your hands to the ground. Fingers facing towards your legs. And go ahead and tuck those hands underneath of your feet, giving yourself a generous bend in your knees here. Tucking your hands underneath your feet so that your toes are touching your wrists. Tops of the hands on the ground. You can widen your stance here, maybe feet shoulder width apart. And start pressing your toes into your wrists here. As you start to release your chest towards the ground, working on engaging through the legs, maybe straightening your legs any amount here. Releasing the head, shaking it yes, shaking it no. And then as you're feeling good here, you can draw that motion of releasing the shoulders away from the ears and trying to drag your hands out from underneath your feet. Pulling yourself deeper into this fold. Bending those knees any amount here. Breathing. We'll stay here for 3 breaths. Big belly inhales. Exhale slowly. 2 more breaths. And then shifting your weight into your heels to release your hands from underneath your feet. Go bring your hands to your hips this time. Find a long spine on that half lift, holding your half lift for a moment. And then inhale all the way up through standing here. And then you're just going to turn to the side of your mat. And then let your feet widen out to the side here, either side. Finding a nice wide stance here, stepping or jumping if you'd like. Seeing if you can get the outer edges of your feet parallel with the short edges of your mat. And if that doesn't feel good, you could take whatever foot placement feels good. This is more of the traditional forward, wide-legged forward fold with feet parallel here. Take a slight bend in your knees to really elongate through the torso. Keeping your hands on your hips, can you press your hands into your hips to bring your chest further up to the sky? And then keeping a slight bend in your knees, start to shift your torso forward, coming into this wide-legged forward fold as my hips crack. Shifting forward, keeping a slight bend in the knees. Bring your hands down in front of your face. You can always stay here. This is a great place to be. You can start to straighten your legs. Careful not to hyperextend the knees here. So if you start to feel any tension in the backs of the legs other than a stretch, any tension through the sides of the knees or the backs of the knees, stop and keep a little bend. Inhaling your chest forward here for this half lift. And then exhale, release and fold here. Letting your head hang heavy. Maybe walking your hands back in line with your feet. Finding a 90-degree angle, bend in your elbows maybe. And then using that press of your hands into the ground, can you engage the abdominal muscles, low ribs towards hip bones, and see if you can pull yourself deeper using the abdominal muscles. Inhale, find a long spine here. And then exhale, fold. One more breath here. And then start walking your hands back underneath your face, coming up for a half lift. With your torso parallel to the ground, bring your hands to your hips. And then inhale, bending your knees to come all the way up to standing. You can sway your torso side to side, letting your one hip come in front of the other, bending at your knees here, just getting a little bit of movement from that stagnant stretch. but we're going to go into it a second time. Preparing here, pressing your hands into your hips to elongate your torso. This time we're going to do a variation where you clasp your hands behind your back. You can grab opposite elbows. You can grab opposite elbows here, or you can interlace your fingers right at the base of your spine, keeping the heels of your hands together and your elbows bent slightly, rolling your shoulders up and then down and back, seeing if you can reach your hands further down to the ground. Slight bend in the knees here as you start to shift forward, holding at the half lift. Another inhale, half lift. And then exhale, start to fold completely into this. And then maybe inhaling your hands up to the sky, keeping a slight bend in your elbows, keeping the heels of your hands together, reaching those hands up and away. Don't try to let them fall overhead. Reach those hands up to the sky, in line towards the direction your hips are facing. So back behind you and up. Breathing here, 2 more breaths. And as you're ready, go ahead and release your hands, the interlace if you had it, or your elbows. And bring your hands to your hips. And inhale for that half lift, torso parallel to the ground. Bending at the knees to inhale all the way up to standing. And then go ahead and bring both feet together at the front of your mat. Stepping up to the front. Just standing here in your Tadasana for a moment. Pressing your feet into the ground, reaching those hands towards the ground. Sweeping the arms up and overhead. And then exhale, folding forward, bending your knees to do so. Inhale for that half lift, torso parallel to the ground. Then exhale, plant your hands, step your feet back to a plank position, knees up or down, low push-up or chaturanga, maybe shifting your weight forward, tucking those elbows in and letting them bend back towards your hips, and then release your chest all the way down to the ground. And then bring your elbows underneath your shoulders like you would be coming into forearm plank. But we're just going to sit here in Sphinx for a minute. Elbows underneath shoulders, pressing the hands and arms into the ground, pressing the feet and the hips into the ground. Inhaling, expanding through the chest. Here. Breathing. Sphinx pose. You can stay here, or if you'd like, put your hands where your elbows were, directly underneath your shoulders, maybe a little bit further back than your shoulders, and keeping those elbows in towards your spine, tucking those elbows in towards each other behind your back. Start to straighten those arms. If you want to come up into upward facing dog, pressing the feet into the ground so that only your hands and feet are touching, letting your chest come forward any amount. Inhaling and exhaling in your Sphinx or your upward facing dog. 1 more breath. And then finding your way back to downward facing dog. Breathing here. Looking forward in between your hands, step, walk, or jump your feet to meet your hands on your next exhale. Inhale for that half lift, and exhale, forward fold. Inhale, long spine, sweep the arms out and overhead. And then exhale, come to standing. Bring your hands to your hips. And then just step your right foot back. Whatever is a normal, comfortable stride for you, keeping both feet facing forward. And go ahead and heel toe that left foot out to the left slightly here. If you have very open hamstrings, you can have a wider stance, so taking your right foot further back. If you have tighter hamstrings, bring it in a little bit. Or if you're prone to hyperextending your knees, walk your foot in slightly. Keeping a slight bend in that front left leg, pressing into the big toe. Here, keeping your hands on your hips, and reaching your chest up and forward. We're coming into pyramid. We're going to fold over that front leg. Inhaling your chest up, keeping a long spine, hinging at your hips. Can you keep both legs relatively straight and strong here? Start folding with a long spine over that left leg. Staying here. Or releasing your torso over your left leg. Releasing your head. Maybe bringing your hands down to the ground. If you can't reach and if you can't reach your fingertips to the ground, keep your hands on your hips. Totally fine. If you can reach your hands to the ground, pressing those hands into the ground to help release your head towards your leg. Maybe walking those fingertips back behind your left foot. Breathing here. Releasing your head, shaking it, yes, shaking it, no. One more breath here. Big belly inhale, slow exhale. Wherever you are, bring your hands to your hips. And inhale for that half lift, bringing your torso parallel to the ground. And then inhale all the way up to standing. Bring your feet together at the front of your mat, standing tall here in Tadasana. We're going to go straight into the other side. As you're ready, just take a natural step back with your left foot. And then walk that right foot over any amount. Taking a wider stance, if that's right for you, or a shorter stance. Keeping your hands on your hips to find some evenness through the hips. You can sort of shake your hips side to side to find that place of evenness through the hips. Broadening through the chest. Inhaling a long spine here. Engaging through the legs, slight bend in that front knee. As you start to shift your torso over that right leg, stopping halfway where your torso is parallel to the ground. Take a breath in here. And then exhale with a long spine. Draw your belly button into your spine and let yourself fold over that right leg any amount. If you have the flexibility to release your hands down to the ground, let your fingertips touch the ground. If not, keep your hands on your hips and stay there. Maybe bringing your fingertips to the ground. Maybe releasing your head heavy. Maybe walking those fingertips back behind your right foot. Keeping a slight bend through that right leg. Engaging through both legs. Drawing that right hip up and back to the corner of the back wall. Right hip up and back, left hip in line with right. Breathing here, one more breath. And then bring your hands to your hips. Inhaling for that half lift. And then all the way up to standing. Coming back, bringing both feet together at the front of your mat for Tadasana. And we're going to do a squat variation here. So, sort of a turtle pose. So go ahead and fold your mat over once or twice. It depends on the thickness of your mat. So folding it over there. I'll face you here. And then step on your mat and bring your heels to stay lifted on the mat and your feet to the front of off the mat on the ground. So just your heels are elevated on the mat, and bring your feet together here. Feet together, heels elevated. Keep those feet together, knees together. We're going to bring your hands to your hips and start sitting down into Utkatasana. Inhaling your arms up and overhead, sitting deep here. Inhaling here, reaching the arms up. And then exhale, come all the way down into a squat, letting your butt reach towards your feet. If this is a lot of work for you, you can just wrap your arms around and staying here into the squat. If you want to experiment with a little bit more, go ahead and keep your feet glued together and let your knees open up here. Letting your knees open up, reaching towards the sides of the room, trying to press through the entire foot. Don't let the inner arches pop up. Staying here or reaching your arms forward and down to the ground. Coming into our turtle variation here. Reaching the arms forward, arms or knees out to the side, and start hugging those knees in towards your chest. Once your torso can come through your thighs and you can feel your thighs on your ribs, then hug your knees in towards one another. Maybe reaching and walking the arms out to the side, maybe turning your palms face up and wrapping those arms around your legs and underneath to grab the heels of the feet back behind you. Hugging those knees in towards one another, reaching your chest forward. You can release the head and start pulling your torso towards your feet with those hands. Hugging the knees in towards your ribs. Breathing here. And then slowly inhale your way out of it, bringing your hands forward, bringing your knees together, and then just sitting your butt back onto your rolled up mat. Shifting your legs out in front of you here. Keeping your hips elevated feels really good for seated forward folds. Sitting up tall here, bring your hands beside your hips for Dandasana, pressing your hands into the ground, expanding through the chest, rolling those shoulders down your back, engaging, flexing through the feet, engaging through the legs. Breathing here. And then as you engage through your torso, drawing those low ribs and hip bones together, start shifting your weight forward over your legs, maybe walking your hands on the outside of your legs, any amount, using that drawing in of the belly button to reach your chest forward and fold your torso over. Active stretch, keeping a long spine here. If you can grab your feet, go ahead and grab your feet. Inhaling and reaching your chest forward, long spine. Exhale, engaging and squeezing, using the active pull of your abdominals to come into this stretch. And then once you feel like you have extended as far as you can, go ahead and round into it. Let your head fall, round into the stretch. One more breath. And then slowly inhale your way back up through seated. You can unroll your mat, set yourself back up. And then back to our seated position here, legs out long. Go ahead and bring your left knee in towards your chest, keeping that right leg out long, and bringing the foot in as close to your left hip as you can, and then press the left sole of the foot into the right inner thigh here, and let that left knee fall out to the left. And then inhale and spin your torso over that right leg, trying to get a line between the center of your chest, your knee, and your ankle, centering yourself over that leg. Inhaling here with a long spine and exhaling, folding over that right leg any amount, walking the hands on the inside and outside of that right leg, keeping that right foot flexed, a long spine, engaging the abdominals to help pull you into this active stretch. Maybe grabbing the foot. And then once you've found a good stretch, go ahead and round into it. Release the work. Breathing here. And inhale, lengthening through the spine, chest forward, and slowly come out of the stretch. And then turn yourself over that left knee, your torso over the left knee, and then plant your hands back behind your hips to see if you can't widen your left leg away from your right. So having a wider angle in between the legs. Turning your torso towards your right knee. Start reaching that right hand out to the right leg that's out long in front of you, and start to just let your torso fall over to the right, keeping your chest up towards center, not hunching over, keeping your chest towards center, and just reaching that right hand to your right foot, towards your right foot, stopping anywhere along the leg and tucking those fingertips underneath that right leg. Or if you can, go ahead and grab that right foot. Inhaling your left arm up and overhead, spinning your torso towards that left hand any amount. And then exhale, maybe reaching that arm up overhead towards that left foot, but keeping your chest spinning up to the sky, breathing here. Big belly inhales and slow exhales. On your next inhale, slowly come out of it, releasing that left arm and walking that right hand back in towards your hips. And then go ahead and straighten both legs out in front of you. We'll go right into the other side. Inhaling that right knee in towards your chest, walking that right foot towards your right hip, and then letting that right knee fall out to the side and touching that left sole or the right sole of the foot into your left inner leg. Framing your left leg with your hands, engaging through that left leg, flexing through the toes, broadening through your chest, elongating through the spine, inhaling. And as you exhale, draw that belly in towards your spine, centering your chest over that left leg, folding forward here, any amount. Walking the hands towards the foot, any amount. Drawing your chest towards your foot. Inhaling along the spine And exhaling, engaging into it, trying to find a long spine here. And then once you've found a good stretch, go ahead and round into it. Releasing the head, releasing the shoulders, releasing the work, easing into a more passive stretch here. Breathing, long breath in, big belly breath in. Slow exhale. One more breath here. Then release your hands if you were grabbing onto your foot and start walking your hands back towards your hips, finding a long spine here. Go ahead and bring your hands back behind your hips and see if you can get that right knee further back, finding a wider angle in between your two legs. Sitting up tall here, centering your torso over your bent right knee. Bringing that left hand out to the left. Letting your hand fall down to the ground as you start to reach your left shoulder towards your left knee, any amount. If you can bring your elbow to the ground, go ahead and tuck those fingers underneath of the left leg. Or if you can, grab that left foot with your left hand and help pull yourself into this stretch, spinning the chest forward, inhaling that right arm up and overhead, breathing here. And then on your next inhale, reach that hand even further up to the sky, spinning that chest up. And then as you exhale, reach that arm over your head, upper arm in line with your ear, chest still spinning forward. Breathing here. Big belly breath in. Slow exhale. One more breath here. And then slowly come out of it. Reach your right hand back to your right hip. Release the foot or the leg. Walking that left hand back in towards your hips. And then straighten out both legs out in front of you. Give them a shake. And we're going to just do one back bending posture to release the front body because we've been doing so many forward folds. So go ahead and cross your legs and roll over onto your knees, bringing your knees and feet about hips width distance here. And then come standing up onto your knees. Bring your hands to your hips. Reach your chest up, expanding through your chest. And then shifting your hips forward, go ahead and bring your hands back. You can palms face, press your palms into your hips, right above your butt cheeks here, right? Drawing those elbows in towards one another. Fingers can be up or down, whatever feels good to you. My fingers are facing down towards my legs. Pressing into the palms, pressing your hips forward, drawing those elbows back towards each other behind your back. Inhaling your chest up and then shifting your hips forward and letting your chest fall back any amount, coming into camel here, breathing. Expanding the chest to the sky. Breathing here, one more breath. And then coming back up, right, slowly, releasing your hips down to your feet and sitting down on your knees. And then letting your feet go out to one side, coming down onto your butt, and then rolling all the way down onto your back in Shavasana. Go ahead and bring your knees with you into your chest. And then just gently let them rock side to side. Maybe reaching those legs out long. If there's anything you need to do before you come into stillness, go ahead and do it. If you feel any tension or you need to do a pose to feel complete in your practice, go ahead and do it now. And then come into stillness here. Letting your arms fall away, spreading away from your body, your feet falling open, closing the eyes. One big belly breath in. Open the mouth, let it go. We'll do just one more of those. Big belly breath in. Open the mouth, let it go. And then release the control you had on your breath. Let your breath come back to normal. Releasing any tension around your eyes. Letting your tongue fall away from the roof of your mouth. Coming into stillness. Traditionally, yoga is done, the physical postures are done, or the asanas, right? The physical poses are done in order to have your body capable of sitting in meditation and your mind capable of finding some stillness. So the whole goal of yoga, traditionally, it might not be for you, but traditionally, yoga's goal is to be able to sit in meditation. So taking this time to rest with yourself, giving yourself the space and time trying not to hold on to any thoughts, but go ahead and let whatever runs through your mind run through your mind, but trying not to get attached to any of it, accepting it and acknowledging it as a thought. Just listening to your breath. Being comfortable in this stillness. You can stay here for as long as you want or need. But if you're ready, you can start wiggling the fingers and the toes, rolling through the wrists and the ankles, bending at the elbows and the knees. Start walking the soles of the feet in towards your hips, hugging your knees into your chest for one more hug, giving yourself a little bit of that self-love. Rocking and rolling, or rolling over to your left side to slowly press yourself back up to seated, cross-legged if that's comfortable for you, crossing at the shins or at the ankles, and sitting up tall, hands on your knees. Find a long spine here, keeping the eyes closed, shifting your weight back, trying to stack your shoulders over your hips. Then bringing your hands together, palms pressing into one another. You can rub them together to find some warmth. And then pressing your hands together at your heart center. Press your thumbs into your heart. To have clear and loving intentions here. Loving yourself and knowing that all life is precious. So that means accepting your life as precious, just as everybody else is. Big breath in here. The light in me honors and respects the light in you. Or namaste. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in virtually. It's always so nice to have Tuesday morning virtual yoga. As always, These online classes are donation based. If you would like to donate via Venmo at evweezer, just like the username here, evweezer, and 50% of those donations go towards a different charity each week. I send them on Pay It Forward, and then 10% goes to the Buckeye Tree Lodge. I'm usually using that space. And yeah, I will post my website here in the chat if you are interested in some more yoga and meditation. Take a look and yeah, see you next Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.